A drunk person would get less help than an ill person. That was proved as the ill victim received help on 95% of the time, um, compared to the drunk victim who only received spontaneous help 50% of the time. Right? That was proved. People would help others of the same race. First, race did not have a large effect on who helped whom, but um, okay, so when the victim was only black, whether he was in the like in the cane condition, when the victim was black, he was equally likely to receive help as the white victim. But in the condition when where the victim was both black and drunk, he was less likely to receive help than the cane conditions, whether it was white or whether it was black. Right? So there was some significant same race helping seen. Other than that, on the broader sense, there was not much significant difference between um, the help that was received by black victim and our white victims. Seeing a model person would encourage others to help. Help models were rarely needed. The public usually helped quickly on their own. So this was there definitely that the public usually helped on their own, but also the early model definitely elicited more helping than the late model. Okay, the larger the group, the less likely. Sorry, the larger the group, the less likely it is the victim will receive help. The number of bystanders made no difference on how many people help. So let's talk about diffusion of responsibility. How in this study, diffusion of responsibility was not seen. Maybe it's because it was a field experiment, and in the previous research, the victim could not be seen; he only could be heard, and the participants could not see each other. They did not know, okay, if there are other people available or not, or if the victim has already received help or not. Right? So the larger the group, that was not proved in this study. The number of bystanders really just made no difference on how many people helped. So let's talk about a test of diffusion of responsibility. Look at the key here. Um, the key says that a hypothetical 3-person group and hypothetical 7-person groups. Okay, so let's compare our hypothetical 3-person groups and hypothetical 7-person groups. So what happened is that Darley and Latine, who were, I think, contributing to the research in some way, they encouraged the researchers to perform a second analysis, which was to which was to uh, compare our natural groups to a baseline of hypothetical groups which were like made of combining smaller groups. So for example, um, there is a natural group of 100 people, hypothetically speaking, natural group of 100 people. Thus they made a baseline of a hypothetical group that was combined by smaller groups of 10. Right? So 10 people in each group. And there were 10 groups. There were 10 groups, and in each group there were 10 people. So they were combined to make a hypothetical group. So our natural 100 group and our hypothetical um, 10% 10% 10 groups were compared to one another. So let's talk about this. In this, the hypothetical 3-person groups are are much more likely to help than the hypothetical 7-person groups. That was predicted by the researchers, that more response time will be expected by smaller groups, which were our 3-person groups, than our 7-person groups, right? But however, what happened in reality is that our natural 3-person groups had were much more likely to much more less likely to help than our natural 7-person groups, which meant that the diffusion of responsibility was not seen in this research. The effect was the complete opposite of it, which meant that as the group size increases, the likelihood that a person or another person will help also increases, which is why our natural 7% groups were much more immediate in responding than our natural 3% groups as compared to our hypothetical groups. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the cost and reward metrics. The model of response consisted of four responses that a participant could choose from. Firstly, whether he could just help directly. There are four responses that a victim can that our participant can choose from. First, helping directly. Second, going to get help. Thirdly, leaving the scene of the emergency. And fourth, rejecting the victim as undeserving of help. So what are the factors that can influence taking one of these responses as your decision to help or to not to help? Right? So a cost slash reward matrix was devised by the researchers. Thus, let's talk about it. The costs for helping may involve effort, embarrassment, and harm. Effort and embarrassment might be from the drunk victim, or effort mainly like females might want like females might have to make efforts to help the male victim. All right, and the costs for not helping may involve disapproval, blame, guilt, judgment, right? And this was much more likely to apply to our cane victim, right? When someone is not likely to when you are not likely to help a person who is ill, you are much more likely to be frowned upon, who you are much more likely to feel guilty. Okay, okay, that person was ill, why did not I help him, right? So the costs for not helping the cane victim are higher here. Okay, so let's talk about the rewards that can be associated with helping. You might be willing to receive praise from others, you might feel good about yourself, you might and rewards for not helping might include being able to continue with your other activities and less effort, right? So let's contextualize it. And the drunk received less help because costs for helping are higher. The drunk might get embarrassing, might puke, or might harm our participant. The costs for helping the drunk victim are higher here, which is why he received less help. And the costs for not helping are lower because he can be considered to be responsible for his own condition, which is why you are less likely to receive disapproval from other people and less likely to feel guilty about yourself. Women are less likely to help because costs for helping are higher in this situation. For women, effort is the mainly the cost of helping, which is why they are not likely to help. And also costs for not helping are lower because they are less likely to receive censure from censure from others, that okay, why did you not help, right? And considering temporal validity of the study that was conducted in the 1960s, at that time females were not expected to help in these situations. Okay, so same race helping of particularly of the drunk can be explained by differential costs for not helping. So when so at that time, a white victim might receive less disapproval or less censure from others if he did not help the black victim, right? So people were much more expected to help someone of the same race, regardless of whether they are drunk or ill. So they might have that kind of a mindset, which is why they are much more likely to help someone of the same race rather than someone of a different race. Okay. Um, And coming to the cane trials, the costs for not helping are higher there. You are much more likely to receive disapproval from your surrounding participants because it's an ill person and they are not considered to be responsible for their position, right? So costs for not helping there are higher, which is why people are more likely to help the cane victim, right? So I think that concludes Pilavin. I hope you all do well and see you soon.